Imagine a world without choices. Imagine you can't make your own decision. That wouldn't be a world for me. That wouldn't be a world for you. UIC.
Tell them we're gonna be stronger. Together, together we can make it right. Our purpose is a better Jamaica for you and I. Gonna be stronger together. Time we all just unify. Our purpose is a better Jamaica for you and I. It is a natural right for every human being to be free. Free, so free. So the government is there to protect you and me. UIC objective is to liberate the citizens from colonial bondage, them regulation, them taxation. Rob Jamaica, we independent. Be stronger together, together we.
Good evening and welcome to another edition of UIC Liberty TV. This is Joseph Patterson, President of UIC. Tonight, I'm just kicking things off for the young people. They're going to be talking and we're going to be listening. So I'll try my best to keep my mouth zipped so I can hear what our young people have to say. Jamaica is a buzz right now in a negative way with a number of challenges that we're being faced with. Elections have been cancelled. Teachers are striking. Taxi operators have already done their strikes and are threatening more. Many of our roads are in serious disrepair. People are suffering from lack of water. And the list goes on and on and on. And on top of all of that, the Prime Minister has yet again delayed the local government elections for the fourth time in a row. So we have some serious governance issues. We have some serious infrastructure issues, some serious wage issues. Inflation continues to be a problem as the cost of living outstripes the wages of most Jamaicans. So we have some serious problems here to deal with. But welcome again, and I'm looking forward to chatting with all of you and hearing what you have to say. It's been a while actually since I've been on. We've been quite busy. Last night we had a meeting with the diaspora group. Our number of persons from the diaspora. That went very well. And we've also been meeting with different stakeholders. I've been into Kingston meeting with different groups that are having challenges, particularly the transport operators. So a lot of stuff, is going on right now. There's a big push as well out there. People are demanding to see more from the UIC. And so we're trying to gear up to see if we can make a big push to ensure we get a large number of seats in the next election so we can represent you effectively. But again, tonight, it's time to hear from our young people. Welcome, Cool Guy. Welcome, JMH. Welcome, it looks like Lil Dago and Patricia Burgess. Kirk, welcome to all of you. Let's bring on now our wonderful, young, vibrant, smart treasurer, Naika Williams, who, for just being 22, she has done an amazing job. You should have seen what she did with her audit this year. She led the audit process so very well. Our books have been fully audited for the 2022 year in record time. And I'm so proud of her. And I'm looking forward to the day when she might even be president of the UIC and lead this movement to, again, in government, So welcome, Miss Williams, and thanks, Son. How are you doing today?
Good night. I'm good. I'm good. Thank you so much for opening for me. I was
No
really
problem.
nervous.
No need
But
to be. I mean, the Jamaican people know that you are young and up and coming, and so they're quite understanding of the nerves sometimes. But soon and very soon, you'll be doing this all by yourself. So, what are we talking about today?
well, I mean, we've heard the perspectives of a lot of people. We've heard it on social media, we've heard it in person, but I realize that most of these persons are adults, and we never actually get to hear how the youths are feeling, how these issues are affecting them. So this is basically what tonight is about. we're hearing from them how they feel, what they think the causes are, and what their solutions are really to mitigating these issues.
Beautiful. Well, I see we have people on from Barbados as well. So big up to our friends in Barbados. Thank you for joining us. And of course, we have many Jamaicans here in Jamaica and around the world that are joining us. Just a little bit of fun fact. Did you know that the UIC has members in Japan and in Australia and in Cayman? So we have supporters all around the world donating and contributing to building this movement. So yeah, but let's turn over now to you. I'll bring on the rest of your guests, and you can kick the ball off, and I'll be listening in and helping the conversation where I am required. So go right ahead.
Okay, thank you. Thank you so much. All right, I am back. It's been a while. I've been away from the platform for a while, but I'm back and I'm not alone, as Mr. Patterson mentioned. I have two persons on with me. I have Mr. Rajan Dawes and Tyrone Smith. I'm expecting another person to come on soon. And I'm sorry, I thought I would have been probably the second oldest person on here, but I think I ended up being the youngest. So I look forward to a very, interesting conversation tonight. And I hope you listen to what the youths have to say and really take into consideration how they feel about what's happening. So Rajan, you can go ahead and give a brief introduction.
All right, so good night to everybody. My name is Rajan Dawes, and as she said, she's not the youngest. I am the oldest of my fellow colleagues here, and I serve in the capacity as the chair of the youth arm for UIC. And I'm just here to give my comments, my views on the issues that we're facing as youth, and hope that we, as the UIC youth arm and the general body, can help to bring change and development and growth to our Jamaican society and youth at large. So, thank you.
Wonderful. Thank you so much for that. Your turn, Tyrone.
All right, good evening, everyone. Are you hearing me? All right, nice. So, my name is Tariq Smith. I am the Chief Director and Advisor to the UIC Public. And as Rajan said, we're here tonight, to give our views and perspective as regards to the multitude of problems and issues we face in our country. Yeah. So, we're here, as I said, give our perspective, and we look forward to it. Absolutely.
Okay, wonderful. So I know when Mr. Patterson was given the shout out, there are some persons on who didn't, well, you guys may have just joined, so you probably didn't get your personal shout out. But I see Sosabone Media Network on here. Good evening to you. I see Purpose Driven. Mr. Clive Morrison, thank you so much for joining. The Reasoning Corner, Colin Roach, thanks again for being here, tuning into our platform. But without further ado, I'll say let's get into it. Oh, sorry, Nazir didn't get a chance to introduce himself. Can you hear us, Nazir? I think he's having some issues. All right, we'll get back to him. But let's get straight into it. We know the current situation of the country. It's not in a good state. It is really not in a good state, and it seems as if as the days goes by, it's completely depleting. So, how do you feel about that? How is it affecting you so far as a young person, Rajan?
All right, good question. I would say how it's affecting me really. It's making me kind of look at it at a different light, like the MPs and the government on a whole could probably try different ways on how to govern the country in terms of putting certain policies and implementing or mitigating certain ways to make it not be so chaotic as it is. Because really and truly, if we're in a country or in a state where we cannot feel safe, then we're going to want to find other means of moving elsewhere and helping to build another country when we can be building our own Jamaica and making it a better place where we can raise our family, do business, and interact with other possible stakeholders in the near future.
Okay, wonderful. What's your perspective on it, Tyrone?
Yeah, that's a beautiful question. Because what I think is that we as a country we tend to not, I'd say, attack our problems in a rather right? Because over the years we've seen that, and even now that Jamaicans tend to be rebuttal, they tend to refuse things when it is proposed, and hence I think, as Rajan said, a better approach should be made in regards to policies, in regards to programs, and I don't think we're at a good stance on that. So that's where I
All right, I'm asking the questions here, and I think I should be given my perspective on it as well. What I see happening is that we're talking about the government. What I see happening is that the attention is being placed on the wrong issues. That's the main thing I see happening. So I see where, and I'm going to bring this up. The other day I was watching a video. You guys may have seen it where the two boys had the other guy on his knees kicking him, and that happened in school, right? So these things are not leaving the streets; they're actually still in the streets and spreading to our kids in school, right? So I was watching that, and I noticed that not one person came out and said anything at all about it. Nobody came out and said anything at all. I mean, most of the bloggers, they would have things to say about it, but not one, I'm going to say, responsible or a person who can actually do something about it came out and said, you know, this needs to stop, encourage the students to actually find better ways to deal with issues. So that's one thing for me. How I feel about it, I don't know. I just look at it in a sense to say, okay, maybe tomorrow is my day, maybe tomorrow isn't. But if it happens, that's it. And I'm being dead serious about that. That's just how I see it. No.
love it.
Is Nazir back? I would really love to hear his perspective on it. Can you hear us, Nazir? Okay. I
While
guess.
we're waiting for Nazir, I wanted to jump in here and kind of ask the question a bit differently. What do you guys see as the basis for the problem? Why are our students apparently more violent, more disrespectful? It just seems to be a total collapse and breakdown in our schools, mirroring what's happening in our society. But what do you see as the causal factor for that? What is causing that?
All right. All right. In terms of from my standpoint, where I see it, seeing that I was a student myself back in the day, I would think maybe the teachers on a whole haven't really took an approach to really understand like the mindset of the students. So when they do certain things and they act out, teachers will think that they are possessed and all of that. But I think what the teachers can take a different approach to better understand the students and try to learn from them a thing or two.
But just to push back a little bit on that, Rajan, doesn't aren't teachers supposed to be trained and equipped to deal with students? Isn't that why we have teachers college and they go and they learn how to deal with children, how to maintain discipline in the classroom, how to motivate, how to inspire? What's the disconnect here? Why is it that, based on what Rajan just said, why is it that teachers are apparently not equipped to deal with students in a way that leads to a more harmonious environment? Tyrone, what are your thoughts on that?
Good phrasing. My thoughts on it is that I don't primarily see it as teachers having a problem to control the student, right? Where I look at it is that in a case you cannot, like I said, you cannot force anything on anyone, and it comes down to the parenting style, and I really didn't want to put it on one set of persons or one set of people, right? To say that that's the basis, But I think the basis of the problem is that how we actually train our children, right? Because have we seen in the older ages, and I can understand the times have modernized. What the government should actually do is offer a sense of public education as to parents, to let them understand that, hey, this is real, that is real. You have to approach it from this perspective, that perspective. Whether or not, then that's really their choice. And then when it comes down to the child now, and whatever consequences is handed out to that child, then the parents, I don't think the parents should have really an issue. But I think,
So let me challenge you a little bit on that. How where does the parent get their knowledge and ability from? We know that teachers go to teachers college and they're supposed to learn how to deal with students of different temperaments and backgrounds and so on. Now you now alluded to the fact that parents have a role to play, a significant role to play. So where do parents get their knowledge from? How do parents learn to parent? Um,
okay, good question. What we've seen in the olden age, or forgive me, but it has to be said, is that parents would have obtained their knowledge of parenting from their foreparents. The way they handle disciplinary matters, chores and all of that. But seeing that the more modern the time goes, the more evolvement that happens, right? And so the children start to think away different, circumstances are a lot different. And I so think that we as a country we use certain infrastructures for the wrong purposes, such as community centers, right? What we do is that we offer courses and all of that, yes, but then we have, a young pregnancy rate. And if we so have a young pregnancy rate, then it is there for me that that child wouldn't have a moral concept of how to guide someone. At
hmm.
that community center, then we need to offer a set course, just like what we offer to teachers, if and twist it a bit, to parents and offer them education on how to properly guide a child.
So I'm going to bring in Naika now on this. Naika, given that it's clear that parents are not doing a good job based on the kind of students we see coming out, and teachers are obviously struggling as well to function as teachers. Do you see a correlation between all of this and government? For example, our education system as it is now and for several years running normally fails about 70% or more of our students every year. That means they graduate from high school without the communication skills, the computational skills, the analytical skills, the reasoning skills that are foundational to you being an effective parent or being, if you're going to teachers college, a teacher. But if 70% of our students are failing every year, and the 30% that remains, at least 50% of them migrates very quickly because foreign countries will take them. So you have 70% are failures, roughly speaking. The 30% that remains, roughly 50 or more percent of them migrate very quickly. So you're left with about 15% or less of the 100% that have the fundamental skills needed to build a society. And 70% is way behind and will need a lot of time to catch up. But Tyrone pointed out that a big part of that 70% are going to also be premature parents. They're going to have, children early, both male and female. The female gets pregnant, but the male is responsible. How do you see the role of government in all of this? Is there something wrong with the way government is doing its job? And because of that, it's affecting both teachers and parents, as well as, of course, the students and giving us the outcomes we're seeing.
Absolutely. And like I said, in the beginning, all efforts, resources, and all of that is being focused in the wrong place. Because number one, for persons leaving school, if there was actually a program, let's say, put in place that when a person leaves school, they don't have, the experience to be in the workplace, number one. So let's say the program is an apprenticeship program that gives them the experience, gives them the knowledge, and so we get them ready for the working field. Because even persons going to college, they have no idea how, the working world really operates. So when they leave school, it's a case, okay, most of them go to school on student loan, right?
Mm,
When
yes.
they leave school, persons are being hired on a degree. They have some knowledge of what, the or their job area that they're interested in. They have some knowledge of what it entails. But when you actually step into the real world, you realize, okay, I guess, the theory is not so much as equal to the practical as I think it is, right? So if persons were given the opportunity as they leave high school, which is really a major, part of their life, then things would have been a whole lot better.
Okay, so what you're talking about is like the UIC's YES program, the Youth
Right.
Employment Solution Program, which takes you directly from school into an internship, a paid internship, so you can learn and grow, as opposed to what we have now. Many of them are just left. They finish high school, they're just left. Yes, some go to art, the art training program, and so on. But in my community, here in Northeast St. Elizabeth, in Balaclava or Silo or Elam or Braze River or even Santa Cruz, many of the young people are just loitering. They finish high school and they're just bouncing around. But I want to bring in Rajan again on this. I want to kind of get his perspective. Rajan, the UIC looks at education a bit differently from the way it's structured now. Education today is focused on simply preparing a child to look for a job. That's the
Right.
general ethos of it. You pass some subjects, and after you pass, you go to university or a trades program, but the focus of it is just looking for a job. The UIC's approach says, no, man, let's step back a little bit. We need to prepare a person to be a whole person, a complete person, not just to get a job, but also to be a creator of jobs.
Right.
And not just to create a job, but how to create good relationships, a good family, how to be an effective citizen. So rather than focusing on math and English and other, technical subjects, the UIC wants to first of all fix three things in every student. First of all, make sure the student understand himself, mind, body, and personality, character. How do I build a solid character? As you know, you are responsible for your character. Your reputation is based on what others think of you, but your character is what you build, who you are as a person. Now, if you have a curriculum that is character focused, that is helping the student to fully understand even his own emotions, understand how his mind works, how his biology works, and the linkage of all of that into how and who I am as a person. And then secondarily, you teach the child how to form solid relationships, family relationship, friend relationship, romantic relationship, business relationship, just understanding human behavior as a whole so you can deal effectively with people. And the third element, which is crucial, all of us use money. Money is 50% of every transaction. Everything you do in life, almost every transaction, well, it's always money, 50% of it. So how can you have a school system where after 15, 16, 17, 18 years of school, you still don't understand money, you don't understand how to manage money, you don't understand monetary systems, you don't understand economics well enough to make solid investment decisions and solid financial decisions. So the UIC wants to make that the primary driver. And then the other subjects as supporting subjects. Math supports that, English supports that, physics support that, chemistry support that. But you don't put those at the front end and then leave those other very important life skills kind of dangling out there on the fringes. What are your thoughts on that?
All right. So you're saying in terms of how the education system is dealing with that currently.
Yeah.
If it is a case where a child is being taught money management, how to budget, how to make a plan, and if they are to this day, even after they leave, and they still have not garnered that knowledge of how to do it, then something's totally wrong, because you should be able to know how to make a plan. That's one. you should be able to know how to budget and how to save your money. So I think that with us as the UIC, we should be able to teach children how to budget from early. I don't think it should wait until like high school, really. From like start from the basic school stage, and then take it from there to the primary, and then when you do it from early now, then they'll have an understanding when they get much older how to make better budgeting with money, but make better investment decisions, how to spend money wisely and stuff like that. So I think that can put a program in place to start it from an early age, from a childhood stage, not to wait until them reach like first form. No, I don't think. Like if you start from there, probably too late for the.
I mean, I'm even looking at the whole issue of like, and I'm going to bring you in now on this, Tyrone. Like, take the issue of the conflicts we see, the fighting that's happening. If students were taught
better conflict resolution skills.
Yeah, but understanding each other, just understanding human behavior, understanding personality types. There are different personality types, right? Your type, Tyrone, may be different from Rajan, may be different from Naika. Some of us are introverts, some of us are extrovert. Some of us are sensing or feeling, some of us are logic driven. If you teach us human beings to understand human beings, I think we can relate with each other better, don't you think?
Absolutely, absolutely. I do agree with that. And it can be said that, what are the problems with that is, whereas conflicts are concerned, is our judicial system that we've seen over the years. Because somebody does something, plan, you just shut them off and you give them a punishment. One of the things that I've seen the Minister of Justice do in schools recently, last year, is restorative justice, right? And upon studying under restorative justice, I see where you allow the person to go through what they have done. You allow there's no blame given, right? You hold them accountable for their actions, yes, but there's no blame given because emotions and actions differ with each other, and that is one of the better approaches.
I see some comments in the comment section. Miss Williams, do you want to go through those now and just kind of look at what people are saying and we can talk about them?
Sure. There's one here from Reasoning Corner saying our government is using these downfalls to trick the parents and then blame them whenever politics voting time finish. That's true.
I've
From
always been amazed by that. I've always seen where the government or politicians are quick to blame the people. Take, for example, and I'm going to go off track a little bit here. Take, for example, what's happening in the taxi situation, where they're blaming the taxi operators for these huge amount of tickets that they have accumulated, when the system that they have designed is so very foolish that it's almost impossible not to get tickets in the system, and then you blame them. Our society is very messed up. Like, for example, take the home situation. Tyrone, Rajan, and Naika, how old are you, Rajan?
24.
24, okay. And Tyrone?
I'm 17.
Sorry, 17?
Yes.
And Naika, you're 22, I believe, right? Yeah, 22. Don't normally talk about ladies' age, they're sensitive. Now, at this age of your life, and I remember when I was there, I can still remember, I got married at 23. So my wife and I, we've been married now for 29 years old. I was 23. We met when I was 13.
Oh.
Yeah. So yeah, we're in grade eight together. So we met in grade 8, and we became friends instantly. And she was my partner and everything, all the stuff I did. She was always there with me, head girl, head boy, all that kind of stuff.
That's what you call support, sir.
Yeah, and so she was like right there with me and support throughout. Now, I'm bringing this up because I remember when I finished high school. Now, I was my mother was very poor, single mother and so on. So when I finished high school, I didn't have any, like, what am I going to do? I did very well. I had 13 subjects, which was unheard of back in those days. In those days, you're lucky if you can pass 5, but I had 13. and but I didn't have any money to go to anything else. So when I got a call with a scholarship to go to a full scholarship to go to UTech, all expenses paid, I was like, oh my God, this was a gift from heaven. Now, today, though, when I look at young people leaving school, leaving university, it seems so bleak because the distance between what you want to achieve and where you are and how the system is set up, the gulf is so wide. Income levels are extremely low relative to the cost of everything. So if you want to even strike it out on your own and say, okay, I'm going to go rent somewhere, tired of living with my parents right now, it seems so difficult because the price is so high. So what I'm seeing is a breakdown in the society because there's a disconnect between what you work hard for in school and what you're able to accomplish when you come out into the real world. And the pressures of life are just so great. So it's breaking people. So if you notice, there are more women now. Women used to be the safest bet as employees. And now more women are becoming fraudsters. More and more you're seeing women in the news, thieving, 30 million, 65 million, it's becoming quite alarming. But men used to be the con artists first and the criminals. So now you have the women they're finding their niche in the criminal market space. The men and boys, they're turning to the guns and to the scamming and stuff, lottery scamming and stuff very quickly. You saw where some are leaving school even prematurely, saying school is a waste of time. I can do better if I go and do this. So when government fails to create an environment that allows you to have hope, allows you to feel that if you do what is right, if you apply yourself and study hard and make the grade and come out, there will be a reasonable job waiting for you. And if you work hard within that job, the price level will be such that you can keep pace with the cost of living. Then you can marry a little girl or a nice guy, and you see a future. You're going, together and have your children, and you can send them to school, and you can give them proper lunch money, buy all their books, have a decent 3-bedroom house, drive a car. Just live a decent life. But for some reason, the way they have designed Jamaica, all of these things are taken away. You just live on the margin. Too many of us are just living on the fringes, on the margin, struggling, trying to. You can't even make ends meet. The only way that you make ends meet, and God forbid, is if you're doing something beyond your job. Yeah? You can't just do your job. You can't just go and say, okay, I'm a bank teller. Simple job. I'm a bank teller, and when I get my pay, I can pay my rent comfortably, buy grocery comfortably, send my child to school comfortably, take a weekend with my husband or my wife and go, somewhere around Jamaica and enjoy a little weekend vacation. Instead, you're just working like a dog, and your eyeballs are always looking, where's the next opportunity? Where can I find something? And that may mean, God forbid, stealing from your employer or stealing from your employer's customer or doing so many side gigs that you can't focus on your regular work and you can't function effectively and you can't grow properly professionally because the system is so skewed to fail you. Now, when I left Jamaica in the 1990s and went to Canada to live, I was just so shocked. No burglar bars. Jesus. No fence around my front yard. And at first I was in a minimum wage job. I was making 6.85 an hour. And it wasn't enough. It was tough because my wife had lost her job. And so it's just the one income. And we lived in a small apartment, 1-bedroom apartment, and it was dingy and everything. But we learned to survive and stuff. But the moment she got a job, we could afford enough things, and our house don't look too bad. You could buy like a piece of furniture and buy like a piece of old car. I bought a Mazda. My first car was a Nissan Maxima, a little piece of old blue car. But you could see yourself, and I was young, and you can grow, and I could see how I would elevate and get up in life. It wasn't going to take 100 years. But for the typical Jamaican here today, young man, young woman, it's dismal. Tell me if I'm lying. Any one of you can jump in on this one.
No, it's not. I work
You're
within
not.
the I work within government, so I can tell you it rough. It rough.
Yeah, it is.
It rough.
It,
I
it
mean,
is it is very
when
difficult.
you get your paycheck, I mean, and I'm very fortunate because I've worked hard, so I am no longer living on the margins. That's a fact. I'm lying to you if I tell you I'm living on the margins. I'm not living on the margins. But I see it every day in my community. I didn't live on the hills. I'm not in one of those places like our prime minister with the big fence around and I'm up on the hill looking down on everybody else. I live down on the plains right here. So my neighbors are the farmers. And Elam is one of the community closest to me. I live on the border of Elam and Bow. The average person here spends decades trying to build their house, one block at a time. Some of the block them get black, you know, without no paint not up on it from the put up, and it just grow junjo on it until the wall they change black. It just is this black color, and some of them part of the house is board, and nothing is wrong with board, but the board has been there so long. So the point I'm making is this. Somehow we seem to be stuck in the past. Jamaica has not progressed at the pace at which it should have progressed. Where we are today. Do you know that, Tyrone, did you know that Jamaica was the number one country in the Caribbean economically in the 1960s?
I am so happy you brought up that because
Yeah.
it's just what I was coming next with. I think
Yeah.
what happened is we did what we call, you know,
Louder.
fishing monkey. We did the fishing monkey thing, right? Because when they introduced the making tourism your main sector in the economy, that was the worst move we could ever make. I'm saying nothing is wrong with tourism. It's a form of
Mhm.
foreign exchange, yes. But how is it that you're gonna completely abandon um
Else.
your main sector, which is agriculture? That is one of the best ways a country can improve its wealth. Let us say, right, over the years we've seen where our government has so-called uh, had agreements and the contracts with countries abroad. I think we use those for the wrong reasons, and I can agree with Naika because spend money on the wrong thing, right? If a country is offering you help, what I think the government does done in order to stabilize this economy,
Hold the mic to your mouth. Hold the mic to your
low
mouth.
inflation, right, and improve the value of our current currency, is to have a concrete spot in their market. Because as you said, in the 1900s, Jamaica was exporting. It was a top exporting country in the Caribbean.
We were number one economically, and
Exactly.
here's the funny thing, and Rajan, you'll find this to be interesting. Here's the funny thing: when the colonial masters were running Jamaica, the colonial masters, and they ran Jamaica up until 1944 fully. So first, remember, Jamaica was made into a slave colony, where if you're black, for the most part, you're a slave in 1838. So, Tyrone, if anybody that looked like you and me, we're
Most
done.
definitely, definitely.
But anyways, so in 1838, and follow me now with this carefully. In 1838, they made us free. They said, okay, it's time for us to free these Negroes, these black people, these Africans, eh? And so they made us free. And our parents, our great grandparents back then, and great great grandparents back then, really were excited. They cheered. They were so happy to be free. Now, the truth is, they weren't free. They only thought they were free. And I want to explain this to you carefully. They thought they were free because they were now let go from the plantation, meaning you could now walk away from the plantation. But free to do what? You were only free to go and beg a job. You understand? Because when they freed you, They did not give you back your land, so you're landless. And they did not give you back your lost wages, so you're penniless. But you're now free. So all you're free to do is to choose your slave master, choose who you're going to work for. And the funny thing is, we're still in that position today in a modern way. Okay? In a modern way, but we're still in that situation today. But follow me now, that was 1838. Now do the math for me, Rajan. From 1838 to 1944, how many years is that? Somebody do the math. From 1838 to 1944, how many years is that?
106.
106.
106. So watch me now. We're free, you know. Remember, we're free in 1838, but it took 106 years before we had the right to vote. You get that? Now, I'm giving you some history lesson here, because when they teach you history in school, and this is how the UIC's education system is going to differ from theirs. In the current education system, they teach you in a way where you don't learn. They teach you in a way where you can go on school challenge quiz and you can regurgitate sometimes some meaningless information, but you don't connect the dots and understand what it all means. So tonight, I want to help you to understand what it means. So 1838 to 1944 was 106 years from freedom to when the black man could vote. Which means if you couldn't vote for who represents you or what's going on with your government, you're not free. But they said you were free. 106 years. Now, in 1944, what really changed? This is what changed. In 1944, they now said you have the right to vote, and Jamaica was given self-governance. Now, prior to 1944, the colonial powers working behind the scenes created two political parties using two cousins who looked more white than black. Okay, look at your history book. You'll see them, two cousins who look more white than black. Now, some guys were behind the scenes. Back in the days, we call those guys the plantocracy. Plantocracy meaning you own the plantation, and agriculture was the mainstay of our economy then. Back to your point, Mr. Smith. And so agriculture was the big deal, and agriculture was doing very, very well in Jamaica back then. So the plantocracy is the equivalent of today's PSOG. You're following me? Remember that I tell you, nothing to change. Watch me now. So the plantocracy back then, which was working behind the scenes and pushing forward two half-white men in front of we, and give us two parties, and so we must vote between the two of them, and now they give us the right to vote. And the reason they gave us the right to vote is that ever so often we become agitated by our condition. So back in the 1830s, we were agitated by being chattel slaves and chains, and we were beginning to bundle a few more plantations, chop up a few more people, and create a few more problems. So they said, listen, we have to fix this. So let us give them a fake freedom. So in 1838, they give us a fake freedom, so we'll reduce the number of chopping up and the number of bonding up and become a little bit more placated. Okay? So we're relaxed now. And say, good, we're free now, we're free. And everything chill. Yeah, man. And remember, I tricked them trickery. It's a fake freedom. But we buy it. We bought it for roughly 106 years. You see how brutal their trickery can be? It can trick you for 106 years. Now watch me. Between by 1944 now, we were agitating again. We said, the freedom in a real, the freedom a kind of fake, man. This don't feel right. This not quite right. So we decide that we're going to start to bundle a few more things again, chop up a few more things again. So they say, listen, let's give them now a fake democracy, the right to vote, universal adult suffrage. So now we can vote. Fake freedom now. You know. Remember, behind the scene, who is there? The plantocracy. They don't come forward, you know. They stay behind the scene and they push two white men in front of us with the two parties and give us a fake dichotomy, meaning a fake choice. See a choice here? I give you two choices. this pen and this pen, so you can choose between them. I still two pen enough, but you can choose between them. And so what's happening now? They fool us again. Since 1944 until 2023, how many years is that? Do the math. From 1944 to 2023. Who is the math brain here?
Not me. 79. It's 79.
You remember that? Yeah. So who knows the math? 79, right?
79. Yeah.
79. So here we are. Them trick we again. From 1944 to 2023, we have now been playing the musical chair between GLP and PNP. So we have been voting for one after the other, while behind the scenes, the plantocracy, which is now the PSOJ, just change of name, but still the same. If you go and look at their financial results, Rajan, you're going to see that NCB made billions. Grace Kennedy made billions. Sandals made billions. All of these companies are making billions in a poor, poor country where all of we must accept that we're poor. We're just poor. So, and if you drive around Jamaica, most of our homes are not finished. Most of our homes are poorly built. Most of our homes are matches boxes. We start as matches box summary. We get the little NHT house way overpriced for a little piece of concrete box. And then we slave and bill it and bill it and bill it and pay a mortgage for 30 years, 40 years. Guess what? When our land in the first place, them sell we back. They sell we our land back. Them not give we land back, a few land. Them thief it from we. And when they said that they free us, your mother and father, Mr. Smith, Miss Williams, and Mr. Dawes, your mother and father, my mother and my father, had to go and buy back the land that was stolen from them. Now, yeah, go ahead.
I was just about to point out, and even when they buy the land, it still doesn't belong to them because they have to pay taxes for it every year. And if you don't pay tax, the government has the right to take it back. So it still doesn't belong to you.
Would you see the trick? Seriously, do you see the trick? But I want to get you back in. Follow me. So 1944, what they did, they gave us this dichotomy, two fake choices, and said vote one of the two of them to fool us, to get us to take our minds off burning down the place again. Okay? So now, when they did that, remember, there was a party before that. There's a party that was created by a black man named Marcus Garvey. You ever heard that man before? So Marcus Garvey, to me, the greatest human being that ever lived. Me can't find none greater than him. And I'm not going into the religious realm now. So don't fight with me about Christ or Muhammad or Krishna or Buddha. We're not going into the religious realm. But just talking about ordinary human beings. Marcus Garvey is the creme de la creme of us all. Nobody to this day no match up to Marcus Garvey. He's my personal hero because I can't think, oh, a man from little Jamaica with no formal education sponsored by the usual means make his way to North America and start a fire that ignites the African, the black man around the entire globe. And raise up a massive movement that could only be stopped by the full force of the US government. That's Marcus Garvey. That's our national hero. And by the way, I don't know about 7 national heroes. I only know about 5. So my national heroes stop at Marcus Garvey. I don't know about them other 2 white men there. Mine stop at Marcus Garvey. So it starts with Nanny, and it stopped with Garvey. And in between is Sharp, Bogle, Gordon, and of course, Garvey. Some of them know the other them. But hear me now. Watch me. So 1944, right? Them get rid of Marcus Garvey. They got rid of Marcus Garvey by 1941. Push him out. Who did that? Let me tell you who did it. The Gleaner Company. They were the only media at the time. So the Gleaner Company, working together with the plantocracy, today's version of the PSOJ. Remember, the plantocracy owned the Gleaner. Just like how the PSOJ owned TVJ, the PSOJ owned CVM, the PSOJ owned the Observer. All those guys, that's what they own it. So they control the media. That is why when you go home every evening, you do not see on the TV, here's an issue in Jamaica. This is what the GLP said. This is what the PNP said. And this is what UIC said. You don't see that. You only see GLP, PNP, GLP, PNP, GLP, PNP, GLP. They don't want to rivet that in the mind. They don't want the Jamaican people to know that they have any more option. So the newspaper, the radio, and the TV block us. Watch. I want you to understand the history now. That's the same thing they did with Marcus Garvey. They tried to block him at every turn. And the Gleaner wrote many articles about him and called him a madman, all kind of negative things, and tried to turn the people against him. They even threw him up. Go ahead, yeah?
Patterson, we can then see
put up the mic in your mouth.
Yeah, sorry about that. Right. We can then see that is where the problem of hypocrisy came from. Right? Because at one point you are slandering this quote unquote, well, he is a hero, but in your terms you're slandering him, and then you come and say he's a national hero for the country which you're a part. And I think that's where the hypocrisy and the corruption is stemming from the times.
Yeah, man. So what they do, they like to kill the hero and then make him a hero. Kill him and kill his plans so that the plans don't come to fruition and you get rid of him, and then you make him a hero, a fake hero, a hero of no effect, because you have undermined his effect. If Marcus Garvey's plans were implemented in Jamaica, you and I would not be having this conversation today. Jamaica would be a very, very wealthy environment for us. And I'm sorry for boring you. But now, continuing on, and catch me carefully on this. So 1944, now remember, they brought in, you can now vote, but they make sure that they solidify around two parties which are funded, owned, and controlled by the plantocracy. So since 1944 to now, the Jamaican people have been fooled into swapping black dog for monkey. And so they've been swapping out the two white dogs, if you will, for monkey. Yeah? And so you go PNP, GLP, PNP, GLP. So right now, watch what's going on right now. Right now, Andrew and the GLP are sinking in the polls. Yeah? The people are beginning to realize fully now what's going on. But as they're sinking in the polls, the other side is our time now, time come, our time now. And so they're trying, and they've played this game with us over and over. I feel with time now. You go back and look at all the tapes from 1944 to now, the same game they have played with. Sweep them out, progress, money jingling in your pocket, prosperity, all kind of foolishness they've come with. And each time we fall for it. Not this time, I hope. But each time we fall for it. So right now, there's a bit of a dilemma. The dilemma is Andrew's leadership rating has dropped by 13%. And Mark Golding's has dropped by 3%. So even though Andrew dropped by 13%, that 30 over onto Mark Golding, he has dropped by 3%. Now that's serious, because what it says is Mark Golding's support in the PNP, within the PNP, has dropped. So he was 18% before, and he's now at 14.7%. So he has dropped. So his own PNP people not like him. Andrew has an even bigger drop, but I'm still ahead of him. He has dropped by 13%. So the whole country no like neither of them. But at the same time, the plantocracy or the PSOJ, those behind the scenes, will make sure they give them the money to still go out there and make sure that one of them win. Because for the PSOJ, it doesn't matter who wins. As long as one of their two horses win, they're still in control of the bridle. You understand? They still have the reins. The only way Jamaica will see a change is if both of those two horses lose the race. And if they lose the race, and it's the UIC that is elected, then the PSOJ has a problem because now they don't have the reins anymore. They don't have the bridle anymore. They can't control the story anymore. Of course, they're going to still try with something else. But now we, the people, would be in control. But one more math problem for you before I go. From 1944 to 1962, how many years is that?
18.
8. Oh, there you go, 18. So watch me now. From 1944 to 1962 was a period called self-government. That period, however, was simply a training wheel period. Yeah, you know what a training wheel is? When you put a bicycle and two wheels on it,
Yeah.
make it a tricycle, so you can kind of train. Okay, so what they did between 1944 and 62, when they gave us self-government, they allow us to elect some of our people, like Bustamante, Norman, David Core, some of these guys. So a few of them were elected. Siaga, all of them. Now, while the British Crown, the British Crown still kept a governor in place, one of their white guys. So the governor sitting on the big chair and said, okay, go ahead, boys, do your thing. Let me see if you can run the thing the way I want you to run it. And the boys do a thing, the PNP and JLP. And after they did that for 18 years, they demonstrated that Jamaica was going to be the way the colonial powers wanted it to be, where we were going to be now fighting each other instead of fighting for each other. Yeah? Instead of fighting the colonial masters, we're now going to turn our attention and fight each other. That's the purpose of partisan politics in any country. It is a mechanism for dividing the people, for distracting the people, so those behind the scene can continue to extract the wealth of the people. And so they proved it between 44 and 62. They proved it for the 18 years and then said, aha, now we can give them independence because it will be a fake independence. But just to be sure, we're going to make sure we have a white woman as the queen and head of state, just in case we can still deal with things. And so from then to now, from 62 to now, the 60 years, 61 years this year, we have been now practicing a system that they designed for us. They meaning the colonial masters, which these two parties have perfectly implemented. And because of that, Jamaica has only gone down. So notice, when the colonial masters were living here and in charge, Jamaica was clean. Jamaica was safe. Jamaica was orderly. And all of our industries were doing very well. But the people, especially the black people, were on the fringes. And the white and not so white were enjoying a more opulent lifestyle in a clean Jamaica, a safe Jamaica, an orderly Jamaica. And then when the whites now decide to leave en masse, take out their wealth and so on, the majority, and leave it to us blackies to run at a certain level. Now you see, and they designed the system, they designed the system to be the way it is now, to be corrupt, to be hard to get anything done. And so it has happened that way. And that's why now you see the safety gradually disappeared. The cleanliness gradually disappeared. The order gradually disappeared. And the poverty stayed and just permeate the entire society. And then now our what do you call them now? Our backroom masters, 'cause that's what they are. Those who are in charge of the two parties, they're our backroom masters. So our backroom masters now, they get to live a certain lifestyle. Yeah. So the backroom masters have big houses. They're trying to imitate and emulate their colonial masters who used to live in the great houses. You know, in the plantation, you have the great houses, and then you have the field slave who live in the little huts and dirty areas, and then you have the house slaves who kind of catch around the masters and kind of eat the crumbs that fall from their table and try to associate with them. It's the same system. So now Andrew and Mark are the house slaves who get to live close to the big house. In this case, literally, they live in a big house. And they get a bigger house, and their houses have nice manicured lawns while the country is dirty and poorly kept and poorly maintained. And they have beautiful chandeliers, exquisite furnishings, lovely tiles, and security systems and cameras and lights and whatever, and nice driveways. But the rest of us must live like the niggers that we are. And that's what they want us to be. So they pretend at election time they care. You'll see the prime minister on the phone talking to, what do you mean, Peanut Dread, and
Yes.
saying nice things. Oh yes, so yeah, we want you to be healthy, and yes, we really care about you, and you must do well here and continue to spread good words here. And couldn't I won't say what I was about to say. So the bottom line is they just want to keep the majority right where they are, right where they are. So election after election, they will bring you the feel-good messages. They'll change the statistics and lie about growth and whatever. They will give you the T-shirts, the $5,000 in it. They'll come around in their motorcade. They'll have dances. They'll have football competition. They'll do all manner of nice things. But at the end of the day, it is all a game of circus in which we are the fools and they will continuously enrich themselves while distracting us and dividing us. That's how it go. Back to you, Miss Williams.
Thank you. You pointed out something earlier that I want to reiterate, saying and I'm not going off track from where you just left off, but you said that the schools don't teach you in a way that you actually learn what is being taught, and that I can agree to. And you also spoke about teaching persons how to build character, different relationships, business relationships, romantic relationships, and so forth. But I can tell you this: when it comes on to the curriculum, especially in high school, overall, the subjects that actually teach you these things are the ones that are considered minimal, not so much, the one you take serious. For example, family life
Mhm.
education,
Yeah,
guidance, and
yeah,
so forth. Whenever you hear those subjects, there are persons who either don't go to class, they teach you in a way where it's all a joke, like these things happen,
yeah,
but you can laugh about it, it's fine. Many persons right now, we're talking about, yeah, you talk about body parts and so forth in science, but if you mention that in a family life class, it is a big joke. You have
yeah.
kids acting out where they're teenage pregnancies and so forth. You watch it. Yes, you look at it, but it's not really resonating with people to say this is a reality.
Absolutely. That is exactly the fact. I had family life classes when I was at school as well. It was a joke. It was never a very serious class. It's not top of mind. The most important class is maths and English, and whatever your so-called vocational area is, or your like accounting or engineering or whatever. They don't understand how important it is to prepare you for life. We're not to prepare students to become merely employees. That's like slavery. If
It
I
is.
if they prepare you simply to look for a job, and Rajani talked about it earlier on about budgeting and so on. If you don't understand money and economics, you're destined to fail. And I'll show you why. The typical person in any country, and I've done the statistics, I've looked this up, in any country that you go to that has followed the model that Jamaica follows and so on, a general model of education, only 1 to 10% of the country is seriously wealthy. The other 90% will be financially insecure or poor. Why is that? Because they do not have solid financial education. And I'm not talking just about budgeting or saving, I mean financial education. If you don't understand the principle of compound inflation, for example, you don't know nothing yet. If you don't understand present and future value, you don't know nothing yet. If you don't understand how monetary systems work, particularly the monetary system, the global monetary system that we're in, which is a system designed to rob you of your wealth every single day. If you make $1, that system is designed to rip you off every minute of every day. And if you don't understand it, then you won't be able to make the right choices. In my personal life, this knowledge has saved me tremendously because I took the time to learn these things, and I didn't learn them in school. My wife will tell you, I had to teach myself. It took me years of focusing on really trying to understand the science of money. When I finally get it, that was the revolutionary moment, because then every decision I made after that, I was able to make it with a knowledge of how money works, how monetary system works, and why I have to protect every dollar that I earn, not by simply saving or even budgeting, but by knowing exactly how to invest, why to invest, where to invest, and when to invest in order to adjust for the anomalies. But back to you, Miss Williams. Oh, we have
Oh,
some comments in or some questions and comments.
yeah, and I don't want to leave the audience hanging. There's one here from Clive Morrison. The country is saying enough is enough. However, UIC with the youths empowered will re-educate the nation under the principles of Marcus Garvey, recognizing the sacrifices of our ancestors and taking back our lands. That's one. There was another one that I saw, but I don't. Eh, I guess I'm going to look back for that one. But I don't want to leave the other two persons out. Tyrone, thoughts on what was said so far?
Right. I got so lost in understanding Mr. Patterson that I completely forgot what you said. I had something to say,
We're
but
not hearing you. Speak into your mic.
right, I was saying that I got so lost in listening to you that I completely forgot what Mr. Williams had said. The last thing I wanted to finish. So could you repeat it for me, please?
Oh, what I said. Oh, that schools don't teach you in a way that you understand. And the
Right.
more important things, it's a joke.
Right.
And the other not so important things, yeah.
Right. And you specifically mentioned about health and family life, education, classes, and guidance.
Yeah.
And yet again, it rests in our education system, right? Because there and then we can't much blame the youths or the children, because at that stage you're about say 12, 13, 14 at max, right? And you then see where they are immature. They have not understand or experienced problems or situation where it needs critical life skills thinking. So my issue is that I believe that those classes are being taught at the wrong stage, and you can see it that as students or children grow over the years through the school's curriculum, they tend to forget the values being taught so low. And if it is that you want a well-rounded citizen at the end of, say, 5 or 7 years, then you have to continue with your program throughout the entire school. You cannot just leave it completely blank at, say, grade 8 or grade 9. That's my sense of that.
Oh, you finished talking. Thank you. Thank you for that. Go ahead, Rajan.
At what Tyrone said, I do agree. I sorry, I don't believe that with family health and family life guidance you should be starting at like an early age or at the first form level because some of the youths when they start high school they're not really mature enough to understand certain things. So I think it is a case where like they should start teaching from like around third form going up so that in real life situations they'll understand based on the teachings that they have gotten from high school and those classes that are very crucial and important and that those persons would deem it being a joke. So if them broke up in a real life things will reach them a road, they will understand the teaching with them. If you get what I'm saying. If
Yeah, yeah.
mm,
I understand. Personally, I just feel like most of the subjects should be like it should just be out completely. Math is one of them. It's important, but I think math should just be out because all you really need to know is the basics of math. You add, you subtract, you
you
divide, you
divide.
minus.
I
The
got
other stuff I've learned in math because I did two math subjects for CXC. I did the advanced math, and I did the regular one. What I learned, especially in the advanced math with calculus and simultaneous,
equation, linear equation,
yes, no,
trigonometry, all of those
yes,
lovely stuff.
calculus, differentiation, optimization, all of that. I remember none of it,
Quadrilateral
and
functions,
it's not
all of
helping
them
me at
stuff.
all now. It's not helping at all, but that's just the way the system is set up. You're trained to believe that math and English are the most important subjects because at the end of the day when you leave school, the one thing in your brain is saying, okay, I need to secure a job. And everywhere you go you hear, okay, you at least need to have math and English to secure a job. So those are just the two things you really focus on. But I just think all of them can be ruled out. You can stick with economics, family life, education, and that's it. I think that's enough to teach, persons how to better manage themselves.
I think there's a place for various subjects, but it's just the order in which they're taught and the volume in which they're taught. So, for example, students must be allowed to pick what they want to learn. So, the fundamental things you start with, making sure that the child understand himself. If a child doesn't understand himself, nothing else matters. That's why you have so many mental health issues today. You understand? Because the child doesn't understand themselves. They don't understand how their mind works, how their body works. For example, the food you eat, right? If you don't eat the right combination of food, you're actually hurting yourself. I'm 52 years old. Most people don't think I'm 52 when they meet me because I don't look 52. Because, well, I shouldn't say that. I mean, you have to tell me, but they're telling me that. People say that. But what you eat, how you eat, when you eat, all of these things affect you. And then there are foods that you eat that makes your brain work better, and there are foods that you eat that dwarfs your mental capacity. I think many Jamaicans, how can I say this in a way that is very sensitive? I believe that many of us are mentally challenged because of our diet. We're also mentally challenged because of our home environment. Meaning, let's go back a bit. When a child is conceived, the mental and physical state of the child's mother, in particular, the father as well, because the sperm that the father provides can either be a sperm of substance or one that's already weak genetically. Okay, but let's assume it's relatively okay. If the mother is not mentally solid, if she doesn't know how to take care of her body during pregnancy, all of those wrong actions are going to affect the fetus as it develops. Yeah? Now, when she brings this child into the world, what does she put into the child's mouth? The kind of foods that go in will affect the child's mental and physical development. This is partly one of the reasons why we have so many failures in our schools. just from the diet alone and from the house environment. Is the house noisy and traumatic, or is it peaceful and encouraging and uplifting? Is the child nurtured in a home where mother and father are there and they're working as a team? Or is it mother alone or father alone, or are they at strife at all times, fighting each other? Now, when you have an economy which is not working, and money is scarce, husbands and wives or man and woman living together fight more. When you have the more economic challenges you have, the more fights you have, especially if the two persons were not properly cultured in the first place. So now you bring this into the home, and the child is living all of this. Now, I'm going to say something which might be a bit ticklish for some of us. Many of our young girls in Jamaica, as they're growing up through their puberty years and stuff, many of them live a very stressful life because they're being harassed by men in their homes and in their communities. So just imagine the young girl, 12, 13, she's in high school going up, and she lives with her single mother who has boyfriends who come over from time to time, or they live in a big yard with a number of men in there. And when you go to bed, your bedroom might not be private or fully closed off, and all kind of stresses are happening to her, and she has to wake up the next morning and go to school and go and study. Now, as homosexuality increased, that also became a problem for the boys. It wasn't like that in the past, but now it's girls and boys are having similar challenges, and these stresses then follow you to school and affects the learning. On top of that, what did you have for breakfast? You might have had some bush tea and a piece of bread or whatever, but not the solid kind of nutritious, well-balanced breakfast that you needed to go to school with. So you go to class, you're droopy, you're tired. Maybe you didn't get to sleep well because it's 6 of you sleeping under one bed. In my house, it's 4 of us under one bed. My mother, her head is up there, and I was the last one to wash belly, so I was with her. And then my brother head down the other end and him foot up on this, and my sister head up and her foot down there. So, and it's on the one little, I doubt if it was a queen size bed, to be honest with you. That would have been big. In a little corner. And that's how, when you live like that, it's an enormous pressure. You understand? And just imagine that with all of that, some of us still manage to come out well. It's a doggone miracle that many of us even make it to where we are today. But not all of us survive that trauma very well. Then you come home from school. What is for dinner? When I come home sometime, it's dumpling and tin mackerel. That's all you can afford. There's no vegetable or whatever. You understand? Or, I get some cornmeal, turned cornmeal, and callaloo, which, by the way, was very nutritious. I mean, that was a good one. It didn't feel that way, but it was very nutritious, So this is what we live through. This is what Jamaica struggled through and make it through. But this also cost us dearly as a nation, which is why the UIC has put nutrition top on the list. We want to make sure every child receives a quality nutrition, not an option. If we're going to produce the best quality human capital, which is our most important asset, we have to invest in the nutrition of our children, the nutrition of our family. We have to educate them, and we have to make sure that they get the food that they need to build a solid mind in order to have a solid character. That's how we're going to produce top-notch engineers and scientists and innovators and creators, not just creators of music. We're good with that. With all our problems, we can cut a tune. We can work out something and make it work and make it sound good too. But we need some higher level thinking. And that's more than cutting a tune, more than just rhyming a few words. Now, Naika, we have to learn the calculus. Those of us who need to, not all of us. The carpenter doesn't need calculus. But some of us need to know the calculus. Some of us need to know the integral. Some of us need to know the differentiation. Some of us need to be able to do the higher order math in order to create the next iPhone or the next computer or the next robotic arm. And we can do it. From my observation, Jamaica missed the boat by a mile because our people have the creativity to build some of the best electronic applications or computer applications ever. If our students were introduced to coding 20 years ago when they should have, instead of being wasted away with a backward curriculum. We have one of the most backward curriculum in the world. Jamaica is about 30 years behind the rest of the modern world in terms of education. If we had introduced coding to our students and make it as simple as their ABC, as germane to their studies as ABC, you would have seen some of the best apps coming out of Jamaica. We would have been a leader in software engineering. But unfortunately, our leaders were busy being misleaders. The JLP and the PNP spend their time mastering corruption, mastering trickery, mastering how can they trick us into allowing them to extract our wealth. And while they were mastering that, they are disempowering the people. They are pushing us down. So now we're just simply job seekers. We're just simply sellers. We can sell somebody else's product. We're not in the driver's seat of producers. And if you think that we could not have been, look at Singapore. They were worse than us and had less than us on every scale, but yet still they are now among the leaders of the world in technology, in financial services, in tourism. A country with no serious natural resource is even a leader in agriculture compared to us. And they got independence
Sad.
3 years after us from the same British colonial masters. And they were ravished by World War II when the Japanese came in and nearly wiped them out. And they did not have the kind of cultural cohesion that we had in the 1960s. In the 1960s, we knew who we were. We were Jamaicans, and we can chat patois, and we can communicate, and we knew each other, and we had similar religion. In Singapore, we live a religion, mix up, in Hindu, Malay,
Muslims.
China, Mandarin, all kind of foolishness. Not foolishness, but all kind of mix up. And they were challenged ethically, morally, racially, every kind of alley. They were challenged. And they had leaders with vision, leaders with foresight, leaders who were more concerned about building up the nation than building up their own wealth. And so we have suffered from the wrong kind of leadership and the wrong system of governance. And now the UIC must set it straight. But the UIC is us, we. This is the first time since Marcus Garvey, Jamaica has a party that is of we the people. The UIC is the people's party. It is owned and controlled by the people. It is of the people, and it is for the people. Anyways, I've said enough. Back to you, madam.
I agree with you. And let me just rephrase what I said after I just took the beating. When I said do away with math, all right, let me fix that up. I think it should be tailored to what the student is actually interested in doing. Do not cram the brain with all of that, because then you have this space for nothing else. You have to remember formulas. You have to do this. Cut it down to what I'm interested in. I wasn't interested in that part, and I was really chosen to do it. I didn't choose to do it, right? So yeah, that's my take on it. Rajan and Tyrone, do you guys have anything else to say? We're coming onto the last part of this live.
Well, I mean,
For me, I don't really have not much to say. I was just taking in the lengthy wealth of knowledge that was being given, so I don't really have much to say.
I'm sure you learned a lot that you didn't know before, right?
Right.
Welcome to UIC
I'm
University.
I'm sure Tyrone will have some other. Maybe he wants to say something else, right?
Absolutely, absolutely. Because we live in a country where we have
We're
this.
not hearing you, Tyrone.
I
Yeah.
just realized we live in a country where we have this amount of talent, right, and skills, and then as you go through the education system, and I heard this from a fellow friend of mine. He said that what the system or what the government does, it puts you in a system that says, hey, listen, this is what I want you to do. This is what you have to do to be accepted as someone of status or someone of something in the world right now. And so what it diminishes is the mind, the creativity, the allowing the person to pursue what they so much has, the passion for. And when you do that, what you now have is persons doing work and not persons who are working because they have a passion too. You're forcing somebody because I mean it's a natural instinct of a human being to survive. And hence yes, we lack certain persons in certain fields because we shut them down. And after high school, you here comes the exuberant fees of the university. The country is built, or rather, in a state of poverty, and yet you have not offered anything as a government of say educational wise. You stop them at high school, and then you proceed to say the high school certifications are no longer valid. It is absolutely crazy.
That is so true. That is so true. But something you pointed out too about the high fees of colleges and so forth. Even though that's the case, they still don't have a system that's you know it compensates people enough to even pay for school. So a lot of persons leave high school not wanting to go to college, and I'm a living testimony of that. Not very much proud to say, but that's the case, because I wouldn't feel very much accomplished in myself if I was supposed to go to college now, right? Spend 3 4 years, and when I leave school I owe student loan, number one. I cannot get a decent job, number two, to even pay back student loan, which student loan is even going to take me a few years for me to even start making money to say, okay, this is for me,
And
right?
you haven't spoken about the fluctuating interest rates, much less you need a place to
There you
live
go.
during those
There,
times.
there you go.
Yeah, I think many of our young people are just turned off by the country. We need to bring hope again to Jamaica, and the hope needs to be real. We don't want a fake hope. We don't want the kind of hope that Bruce Golden offered. I remember when Bruce Golden ran for the 2007 election. He was so effective. I find the JLP has mastered the art of PR and campaigning, of publicity stunts, and they've done a very good job of that. And the PNP, on the other hand, they're living off the fat of Michael Manley. So what they know, that the people love Michael Manley. They know that Michael Manley have the heart of the Jamaican people. I think most Jamaicans are Michael Manley PNP, because what they sensed with Michael Manley was that he genuinely cared. And I believe that he genuinely cared. I don't think he was good at what he did. I don't think he understood economics at all. Even though, funny enough, his degree was in economics from I think the School of London or one of those universities. Um, and many Jamaicans thought Siaga was a financial genius, because they don't know the truth. They don't know that, Mr. Siaga, when Mr. Siaga won the 1980 election after some 800 persons were murdered, that's another story. I was alive. I was around at that time when I saw the brutality of these two parties, how they killed each other and killed many Jamaicans. When Mr. Siaga won the 1980 election, he got a gift from the then US President Ronald Reagan. They opened up the floodgates of loans and grants to Jamaica, and made the economy look like he was doing something miraculous. But it's very simple. If you're broke, Tyrone, you're broke, and your friends know you're broke, and everybody know you're broke, but you tell them you're working hard, and then one day somebody came and gave you a loan of 1 million US, would your life change immediately?
I'm sorry, I missed the question. I missed the
You
question.
missed it. If you were broke, you're working hard, but you're broke, and one day somebody came and gave you a loan of 1 million US dollars, would you immediately look rich?
I would.
Yes. And you could tell people that you're rich because you're a genius.
That is true.
Yeah. But the reality would be that you owe you owe 1 million US that you have to pay for later on. Just like how right now, the current finance minister is boasting about new financial arrangements that he has made with the IMF. And just like in the past, they got us to cheer and clap when they were taking us down the precipice of debts that would cause us tremendous pain to pay off over the next 20 years, 30 years. Right now, we have politicians again fooling us, telling us nice things about IMF, when all they're doing is setting us up for the next big fail that your children and your grandchildren are going to have to suffer to pay. When you hear to talk about, for example, our debt to GDP, just recently our debt to GDP was 140%. Okay? Just by comparison, America's debt to GDP, America is 120%. We were at 140. We have since brought that down from 140 to roughly 100% of our GDP. And they're clapping and cheering. What they're not telling you is that that reduction, first of all, the climb to 140% represents the amount they stole from us. So they borrowed money in our names, stole that money, and then gave us the debt to pay back. How did we pay back that debt? We pay back that debt in reduced quality schools, reduced quality healthcare, reduced quality roads, reduced quality water supply, reduced quality policing, reduced quality nursing, reduce everything. And the selling off of our assets. We've sold off our airline. We have sold off our airports. We have sold off our land in the form of bauxite and get nothing for it. And so while they're selling us off and while they're diminishing the quality of our public service, they're able to boast that they have brought down the debt to GDP, but that was on the backs of the Jamaican people who have suffered for it. And guess what? Still suffering even now. So when you hear them come out and give you the next announcement about how well they're doing with their economy, those numbers don't relate to you and me. Those numbers relate to them in a positive sense and to us in a negative sense because we are paying the price for their theft and mismanagement of our economy. Ms. Williams, I think we have exhausted our time so far.
Yeah, I actually planned to stay on for an hour and a half, but we're just 3 minutes over. But, you know,
Okay.
we still have to work with time, and Rajan may have to drop off soon as well.
Yeah.
So we're
So let's
going
wrap it
to,
up.
yeah.
Final thoughts. What are your final thoughts, Rajan, from this episode that we just lost? What's his name again?
Tyrone, his
Tyrone.
battery went.
His battery went, my goodness.
All
All right, final thoughts. What do you make of the whole discussion, Rajan? Give it your summary. Summarize the discussion for us.
All right. The discussion was very fruitful. It was something that I think that myself and the management team of the youth can really discuss further in depth and see how best we can try to put in our part as a team and trying to help you guys as well to bring Jamaica back to some normalcy, because really and truly it has to change.
Yeah.
So I think that what has been said here, I can bring it back to them. We meet, try to just put some things in place. But I enjoyed being here. I was kind of nervous at first, but the team said I should not be nervous and just represent them my best. So I felt that I did my best here tonight. So yeah.
Wonderful. Ms. Williams, your summary?
I absolutely love the discussion. Oh, by the way, my nervousness is gone now. By the mid convo, it just left.
I love that. I didn't hear it in here at all.
Oh, it left completely. But I think I can speak for a lot of persons when I say the more you listen to Mr. Patterson is the more you learn. I've been listening to you for what, a year and a month now, and every day it's just something new that is added to me. But love the discussion. I hope that we can have another one soon because I'm representing for the youths at this point in time. I
Yes,
can't
yes.
I can speak for persons a little older than me, but really I have to, relate to those who are actually at my age level. So yeah, I hope to do this again very soon and very soon.
Hmm.
Excellent. Well, thanks to both of you and to Tyrone as well, and to
Hmm.
all of you who tuned in tonight. I think it was fruitful for us to be here. I always enjoy sharing, and I am looking forward to the day when the UIC forms a government and we can have a new and better Jamaica. One that brings out the best in all our people, one that gives us a safe, clean, and orderly society, one where each and every one of us can live, earn, and retire with dignity in our own country. One Jamaica, stronger together. Good night, everyone. Take care.
Good night. Good